Making enchiladas is so messy. To give you perspective, the most authentic enchilada recipes would require you to dip the tortillas in sauce, then almost deep fry the tortillas. Don't forget, now it's time to cook the filling. Then you also have to put it all together inside of a casserole dish, top it with cheese, and put it in the oven. That can be a lot for some people. Now don't get me wrong, after all of that work, you have the most delicious enchilada recipes in your entire life. But that amount of work without help could seem very intimidating. So the goal here in my recipe was to remove the scariness by sizing down all of the steps and creating something that's more oil-free and plant-based. This way, we all could enjoy one of these great Mexican-inspired dishes. To start, you're gonna need a very large pan, one that can also go in the oven. If you're using very large tortillas, then I would say a 12-inch pan is what you need. But for the small ones, 10 inches is good. Of course, if you don't have a very large pan that can also go in the oven, you could go the casserole route. With our pan ready and all of our ingredients set up, we're adding sweet potatoes into the skillet. You want small cubes, 1/2 inch, 1/4 of an inch, that's where it's at. Smaller cubes are going to cook quicker, but it also doesn't dominate the other ingredients if everything is like the same size. If you stack 2 black beans together, is that about an inch? Squirrel brain, that has nothing to do with the video. The process for cooking your potatoes, you're looking at roughly around 6 to 8 minutes. Butternut squash comes in mind as a really good substitute if you're looking for something other than sweet potatoes. But you also don't have to use sweet potatoes. You can make it without the butternut squash, without the sweet potatoes, and this would still be really, really good. Why am I whispering? From here, after cooking the sweet potatoes, we really are just dumping items inside of the skillet. And we're gonna be cooking everything like just shy of its cooking time. Since we're putting this in the oven, it's gonna cook some there, but we also wanna keep that good mouthfeel when we bite into this. So not completely just soft mushiness hanging out inside the tortilla. So the onions, the peppers, the garlic, minus the garlic, we're typically cooking these items for like 4 to 6 minutes. But this time we're gonna go more like a 2 to 3 minutes. The skillet I was using in the video, I think it's like 10 inches. And I don't know if you can tell, but it was pretty full. Like ingredients were just jumping out of the skillet. So if you're using a 10-inch skillet, I would probably cut the recipe, like the total recipe down just a smidgen, so this way it's not so crowded in there. Going in with our seasonings, our beans, our corn, lime and lime zest was supposed to be in the recipe, but I ran out. So you'll see it in the written version on my website. Mom, if you're watching this, do you know what happened to my limes? When I was in elementary school, I used to hide potatoes in my friend's couch. I always wanted him to come outside. He always wanted to stay inside, except his grandmother loved me and would never believe him when he tried to point the finger that it was my fault the potato was in the couch. I don't know if you got the joke there with the potato in the couch, but hopefully it sets in. It took him a very long time too. Mom, are you hiding my limes in my couch? You know what? Okay, I didn't find any, so maybe she's putting them under my bed. So we finally finished up all of our skillet cooking. Now we're transferring our ingredients into a bowl. But be careful and don't try to wrap your tortillas right away because those ingredients are fairly hot. Now, the steps from here, fairly self-explanatory, but I do have some tips. You could do flour, whole wheat, or corn tortillas, which is my preference, or spice things up with like a hummus tortilla or a spinach tortilla. I see those things in the store all the time. I also have a homemade enchilada sauce recipe that's on my website. I'll link that in the description along with the queso, since the queso's homemade and I prefer that as my cheese in comparison to the store-bought stuff. Another good reason to use that queso is if your skillet can't go in the oven, really the oven process, it helps warm things up, but also it's to help melt the cheese that you put on top. So if you actually pour queso on top, there's kind of no point to go in the oven. I didn't mention it, but of course you could use some other beans. I would say refried or pinto, they come to mind. Refried beans, I would just lay that inside of the tortilla. You know, slap it on there like it's mayonnaise or peanut butter and place the rest of your ingredients right on top. Roll up your tortilla or enchilada. I think I keep saying tortilla instead of enchilada, but I'm not really sure. This recipe can be found linked in the description or at my website, makeitdairyfree.com. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, believe in good. Peace.